is a battle of perception. If you control what people believe, you control the world.
Makarov's writing his own rules.
My comrades, we stand reunited!
You want some war?
The time has come to show them the meaning of true power.
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to The Prototype, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I am your host, Mike the Birdman, and in today's show, we're going to be taking a look at some special extended coverage of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. A review code was provided to both me and my co-host, my compatriot in this adventure into the world of terrorism and backstabbing and controversy, to say the least. I'm joined by my friend, my brother, my compatriot in arms from the land of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada.
Alex, the producer. I was going to try to attempt a British SAS accent, and I realized I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you are not Captain Price nor Soap.
No, Governor. Please, sir, I want some more. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for even attempting it.
So yes, guys, as I was saying off the top of the show, so we got a chance to review this game. We were sent codes by Activision across Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. We have played the game and we have thoughts about it. So a lot of the campaign talk's going to come between me and Alex. A lot of the multiplayer stuff's going to focus on me because that's where my bread and butter is. I've done extensive play in zombies. I've not yet reached first prestige. I think I'm level 45 right now with a lot of my guns maxed out. I spend a lot of my time in zombies. I've done some of the promotional stuff, which I haven't got I want my hot and ready operator from Little Caesars. I haven't got it attached to my Activision account yet, unfortunately. So what can we say about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3? Well, unfortunately, a lot of the critics that have come with their reviews that have come out before us do have a lot of really valid points, and I want to talk about that almost immediately.
Yeah.
We got to talk about this year's campaign because, Alex, I know.
Would you mind if I mention mechanically first a couple of issues that I've been eyebrow raising to me? We've noticed a pattern, at least since I've been here, a twig, last 6-7 years, of the games getting bloated in size, and not just with the technology going up. Other games have similar fidelity and graphical quality, and we've seen them blow up into the 100, 150 gigabyte installs. Nothing compares to how large and bloated the required installs are for Call of Duty. And the argument can be made that, hey, they've sectionized them. If you want multiplayer, you get the multiplayer. If you want single player, you get the campaign data. But regardless, if you want to install a complete version of the game, to not have to stream any data online, not have to download piecemeal here and there so that you can play different game modes, if you want it completely installed, it's 280 gigabytes.
Yeah, I think this is the largest game I've ever installed.
That isn't an MMO like World of Warcraft or something that has 20 years of expansions taking up that kind of space. The fact this is double the size, more than double the size of Spider-Man or other games that have either the same graphical fidelity or arguably in some cases even larger. Those games end up being anywhere from 100 to 140 gigabytes. Where is the doubling the size, especially on consoles that have great compression algorithms for in PlayStation's case, the Kraken algorithm for the API of decompressing and compressing large data on the fly, 280 gigabytes. And if you want to, let's say, go back and play Cold War, Black Ops Cold War on there, I wanted to see, because I know you've been going back and trying out different versions of the game, playing them. It's 500 gigabytes to install that game. I don't know how that tripled in size in the last 3 years, but I looked, and if I want on my internal hard drive with no other games on it, you can't install more than 2 Call of Duty games. And that's becoming an issue. Like, you shouldn't have a console entirely for one game or one game franchise, and it's becoming an issue of deciding, do I want to install Call of Duty? What do I have to delete to make it fit? So that, outside of any other complaints, my question is, why does it keep getting that big when this appears to be more iterative on the previous year's game. Like, why do I need to have data from the last year's game installed? Why does it seems like there's a lot of redundant data? So that's my big complaint outside of, you know, what other a lot of other reviewers haven't even mentioned that. It's a very large game, unruly large. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I can say there's a lot of hot patches and a lot of fixes coming in from the developers from Sledgehammer, which is good that they're fixing issues within the game, because with Call of Duty, if you've been playing the game series as long as I have, there's always bound to be launch month problems. It's just kind of the way it is. This year seems a little less bumpy than most, although there were some significant multiplayer spawns in objective game modes, most notably with like hardpoint and kill confirmed, where you could literally just spawn kill people. Pretty funny when you're the guy doing the shooting, not so fun when you're the guy on the receiving end of the bullet. Although this year's big problem, and I hate to say this, but this year's campaign was terrible. And what do I mean by that? Now, when I got into Call of Duty many, many years ago, when Activision started sending me codes, I really got invested in the story. And a lot of people say, Mike, you play Call of Duty for the story? Yeah, because sometimes they're really interesting. You get these really great set pieces. They're like Michael Bay action movies. And you get some really cool, honest to God, cool, fun, bombastic moments. Here, there weren't the great grand set pieces that you've seen in previous years. There was no equivalent to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 where the nuke went off in the Middle East, or there was no equivalent to No Russian this year, kind of sort of thing. There was no big wow moment. And I'm not saying No Russian was a wow moment, but there just wasn't anything as here. I'd say the opening level in the prison was kind of cool. The mission in the Arctic where you're rescuing somebody was kind of fun. And what else did I kind of like? I guess the mission in the subway, which was the final one, interesting, but that was not what I was expecting as the quote unquote final mission. And I was
one of the earlier to mid missions, the one with the missile silo where you have to escape was kind of interesting. And
and that one, I'm glad you brought that up actually, because this game has this idea where you have open free fire zones where you can take the mission in any way that you want, but you can also change out loadouts mid-mission. You can gather new weapons and stuff like that. It felt a lot like Warzone in a weird kind of way.
Well, that's people are saying that
objective-based.
they're Warzone maps that they've added some objectives to.
Yeah,
So
like it didn't feel as, what's the word I'm looking for? Scripted, maybe?
It didn't feel. It felt a lot like, hey, and you see reviewers saying things like lazy, and it's easy to throw words around like that. We know the developers are not lazy. You work with the constraints of what you're given. It's clear this had a much more crunched, smaller, regardless of what their corporate speak is, this had a much smaller development cycle. You can tell the fact that it requires install data and launcher data from the previous game. All the leaks here and there saying that this was originally an expansion. I believe it. Beyond that, you can tell, but basically half of the missions, if not slightly more than half of the single player missions, are just, here's a map that we use for multiplayer. We're gonna have radio messages playing into your ear at certain key points when you grab items. Very similar. It's like soloing the multiplayer with the difficulty down lower.
Yeah,
it's like that comes across as lazy. If I'm paying $80 to $90 or $100 for a game, regardless of if it's online, if it's mostly a multiplayer game, especially if the multiplayer is used from the previous year and is almost indistinguishable outside of remastered missions from 14 years ago or remastered maps. If I'm paying, $80, if you're a single player centric person, I play single player first usually, and then I'll play zombies with you. I don't play competitive multiplayer or anything like that. I'll play zombies modes with friends when they have that or when that's implemented. If I'm playing for a single player, it feels like a $25 to $30 Canadian expansion as far as pricing goes. It feels like, oh, here is a spattering of a few scripted traditional, well-crafted, hand-tailored missions with cinematic style events and pulse-pounding action. And then here's maybe, a handful of missions that are more objective based. Hey, here's some filler. Those filler in quote missions that are the open, action, free range action, whatever you want to call them, missions feel like things that you get released for free as regular seasonal free DLC. And then you're only getting a handful of originally scripted tailored missions. It doesn't feel like $100 game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like a $30 expansion if you're looking for single player out of this. Like I'm before we even get deeper into the game and going into the reviews and details, I will say this: if you are somebody who only, and I mean seriously, if you only play single player and you never have any plans on playing multiplayer of Call of Duty at all, this one should be skipped until you can
Yeah.
get it for like $20.
Yeah, my biggest problem with this year's was campaign length, and it didn't have the epic scope that I was used to, because like I was mentioning, you're used to having those big bombastic scripted moments, those big epic wow moments. Here in the original Modern Warfare 3, which came out in, I want to say 2011, some moments do happen. Like, by the way, spoilers, a major character dies and is killed by someone, and it's a pretty shocking moment in 2011, and it's still shocking here. But how shocking it is how quickly things just end after that. And one of the missions takes you to Verdansk, which is the Warzone map from last year. I don't know whether Warzone still happens in Verdansk. It probably does. I'm not sure. I'm not a Warzone player. And it's just not something I've thoroughly enjoyed. I don't much care for Warzone. But it's frustrating because the game just ends. Whereas Vanguard at least had an ending.
Yeah, and if you remember from our review from a couple of years back, our biggest complaint was that it was the weakest single player campaign in easily 10 years or more of the series.
Yeah.
This, I'm not trying to harp on it, this is the weakest single player campaign they've ever done.
Yeah, because it just ends.
It's maybe a third of the length of what you would expect.
You could speed run this in about 3 hours.
Yeah, like if all of these missions that were in here were the handcrafted missions, it would still be about 75% the length that you would expect, and should have more. And the fact that some of these are just the drop-in missions where there's nothing to it except roam the map and collectathon stuff, that actually takes away gameplay, because if you're a really good game player, you could beat this game in like an hour. If you're, you know what I mean?
I wouldn't say that, short, but you
No,
could speed run this in about 3 hours.
Yeah, between 2 and 3 hours if you're really fast and you're really good. Where I've praised, and I've being a single player fan mostly, Modern Warfare 1, 2 was good, or of the remakes I'm talking, of the remaster, remake, whatever, reimaginings. 2 was pretty good, 1 was better, and then obviously Cold War was my favorite of the bunch of the last, probably 10 years worth. With Cold War, you had multiple ways to beat the game. You had multiple paths you could choose, multiple endings, secret collectibles, and tons of like little things that people took months to find out secrets, and well crafted. It had the open sandbox area, and that you could take different paths and find new ways, find new interesting items, intel, all this fun stuff that you could unlock and find. Really good storytelling, multiple paths, like I said, and that was, if you wanted to do every way, like, do the good path, the bad path, secret path, and then find all the secrets, you could get 20 hours, 25 hours out of doing the single player mode over and over again. Just even going through like some of the weird, trippy dream sequences and, refusing to do certain things, running a different way and hearing different reactions. It was very well thought out. And that was, a great bang for your buck. Modern Warfare, 2019, that had some of the most solid, like linearly scripted stuff. It wasn't as many pathways or anything. It was one major story, but you went through that and you're like, wow, I got a AAA bombastic adventure, and that was what, somewhere between 6 and 10 hours, depending on how good of a player you were. I think playing it on easier difficulty. I think I did it in 6 or 7. And that was, sometimes having to replace some parts. Vanguard, like we said, was pretty weak. It just didn't
4 hours.
yeah, it was like 4 hours, but at least it was mostly scripted. Our biggest complaints were that it had no collectibles. There was nothing off the beaten path. It was so linear in that there was no way to do anything except the exact way you were shown. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There was no other path to take. So that was a complaint. We're like, wow, that felt kind of lazy. In comparison, that's a fully complete single player campaign. This is not a complete campaign. This is like half of a campaign.
Yeah, and I've heard people report, as reported by several different outlets, that this was a rush development cycle, and supposedly this was supposed to be premium DLC for Modern Warfare 2. And if that was the case, I would have been completely fine with it,
Yeah.
because it would have led into something bigger and better. What bothers me is how this game ends on a moment with a fairly big loose thread just out there in the world. Yes, there's a post-credits scene, but it doesn't wrap up what you want it to. And that's what makes me so mad.
I think the fear is, and for anybody listening that maybe even works at Activision, it's like, no, we've released a statement saying, hey, no, it wasn't a rush cycle. This was the plan. If that's the case, and we are to truly believe that, then what you're telling us is you're now giving us half the game for full price. And that means that, are we to expect that the next Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare 4, is going to be half the game for full price, meaning that you have now charged us $200 for what would have been an $80 campaign?
See, and I don't think this is going to end up being like a Mass Effect 3 extended cut DLC situation where they release more. But hey, who knows what's like going to happen with that? I mean,
it's up in the air now that, since this was in development beforehand, now that the Microsoft deal has changed, who knows what the directive is? And I'll say this right now, I would have zero complaints about the length of the campaign in this case if this game was a Game Pass game at launch.
Yeah, I mean,
if the single player could be played as a Game Pass game, okay. And then every 2 or 3 years, or every 3 years, 2 years, whatever it is, when they come up with a new Modern Warfare, that means I get like 5 hours of campaign for free on Game Pass, or 3 hours of campaign. Okay, is it great? No, because I am somebody who loves when a AAA game has a really good single player campaign, but like, as far as single player goes, the value isn't there. You're the big multiplayer fan. I actually had to, full disclosure, uninstall the game to make room for other reviews that were ongoing, because I wasn't going to go out and pay $200 for an additional hard drive just to keep Call of Duty on it.
Yeah, like, I'm lucky because I've got the big extended hard drive. I've got another hard drive hooked up to my Xbox Series X, which is why I reviewed this on my Xbox Series X and you did it on PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And yes, both systems can take extended storage, but playing this through my experience, let's talk about multiplayer, because we've pretty much said all we really can about the single player.
Not trying to be dour. It's just it's actually quite surprising how little was there for the single player for the people that are primarily single player fans. There's very little here for the value.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, that's what makes me really sad, because I lost a character that I've grown to like, and again, I knew it was coming because I played the original way back when, but I wanted more. I wanted that comeuppance to come to the villain. I wanted to find out what happens next. I was really hoping there'd be one more mission, and if this is the end of the adventures of Captain Price and his friends, then that kind of sucks.
Were you hoping the credits would end and then it would just open up and you're in a final mission?
That's what I was hoping, because there was that final cutscene where something happens and I was like, oh, cool. So that loose thread's been taken care of, but what about the other thing? Nope, credits. So multiplayer wise, I like the multiplayer, but I've got some issues with it. And what I mean by that is I don't like the unlock system. So this year introduces something called the armory system. So to unlock certain things, it's not just progress from level 1 to 55. Yes, you have to do that. But if you want to unlock, say, Semtex, for example, which is a piece of lethal equipment, you have to complete daily challenges. So it might be kill 5 people with headshots using marksman rifles, kill 5 guys with a point blank medal, or any number of X things, but you can also do this in zombies mode. Usually these are pretty easy, but the problem is now recently they have patched some of this, that it wasn't tracking progression for certain things. So if you wanted, but that being said, via the armory system, you could unlock certain things really early because they have a different kit system this year, and it's a little weird. Like, you can have different gloves and boots which do certain things, like maybe you'll reload faster, you can move without making a sound, so you basically have the free perk of dead silence. Maybe you have different pieces of equipment or stuff like that. Like, because I play objective modes almost exclusively, I play with something known as the engineer's vest. I don't get lethal equipment anymore, but I can bring a piece of equipment called a comm scrambler, and I can disable enemy kill streaks in a certain box, which means in objective game modes, I'm a real pain in the ass because you can't call in your UAVs, you can't call in your helos. I can intercept enemy intel, and that's really friggin' useful, and a lot of people really haven't caught on to that. But if I'm not tracking certain things to unlock, because you have to select what you want to do. I think I just recently unlocked flashbangs and maybe a gun. That's really kind of annoying. Or if you need to unlock a certain piece of equipment that'll fit on a certain gun in the gunsmith mode, okay, you have to unlock this rifle, get it to level whatever, but now you can use it on this LMG or something. It's a lot of busy work. That kind of sucks, but that being said, my guns from Modern Warfare 2 carry over, which is great, but I don't know how effective they are compared to the Modern Warfare 2 or compared to the Modern Warfare 3 guns. I found a couple that I like so far. Like, I'm an LMG guy, so I'm mostly sticking to that category right now.
Whenever we would play together, you're just like, suppressing fire.
I was Rambo, basically, like, I'll hold down this lane, you guys go take care of the stragglers.
The way you play in a group is essentially Arnold Schwarzenegger grabbing a minigun off of a helicopter and just walking around with it.
Yeah, and there is something new this year. I'm still trying to get the hang of it, but it's what's known as tack stance. So when you go into a game, you press down on your directional pad and you look down the sight, but not. It's almost like you're hip firing, but you're kind of aiming at the same time. You do get some gun spread, but it's not looking down the sight exactly. So it's like half sighted, but half hip fire. It's weird. Sometimes daily challenges are tied to that. It's most effective in zombies, I find, because if you get caught with your pants down, so to speak, it's an easy way just to spray and pray and get out of there. But multiplayer works. There are some bugs here and there, again, as to be expected in the first little bit. There's a lot of maps, a lot of remastered maps, a lot more than we've seen in previous launch years, which is great for the multiplayer community. But I'm not seeing as much variety as I would have liked. I would like to see a lot more new locations. I'm glad we have the old maps there at launch, which expands playlist. I think they fixed the spawn issues right now, because I was saying in the beginning there.
As of this recording. Also, as great as it is to have a lot of remastered maps from, 9 years ago, or 14, or 9 years ago, or 14 years ago. 14 years ago, I think. Whatever it is, for 20, it's either 2009 or 20. It's 2014, right? Is that when that came out last? Whatever.
2011.
2011. So yeah, 12, 13 years ago, whatever. As nice as that is, and that it's going to get a lot of people nostalgic for it. You can add as many of them as you want, but eventually people are going to get bored of them quicker because they're not new. You know what I mean? Like they're new, but they're not new. So
yeah, it's only the hardcore guys like me who know I'm on terminal. I know where to go. I'm on Rust. I know where to go. Well, I know my spawn points.
And they like that. But again, people are going to start questioning, okay, I know that. I love this, but where's more? And at least they've announced that they are supposedly releasing more. I don't know if it's for free. I'm hoping it's for free.
Oh, probably, it will be, because they don't want to divide the player base, which is what they did in 2019. They said if new maps come out, We're not going to divide the player base. You all get them, but it's just a matter of when they drop.
Yeah, so if they could hopefully drop one before Christmas, would be nice.
I know the first season.
There's not a lot of content right now.
Yeah, I know first season drops very, very soon, which means you can still work your way through the battle pass. And that's something to kind of talk about too. A lot of stuff from Modern Warfare 2 carries forward. So if you have skins from the last game, they carry forward, which is really nice because I have the Burger Town skin from Modern Warfare 2. That's the one I constantly use. I'm working through last year's battle pass so I can get Spawn, which is voiced by Keith David, which is honestly kind of awesome. So I'm playing the Al Simmons version of Spawn right now, and I'm working my way through. Really hope I can finish the battle pass before it ends in like the first week or two of December. That's really nice. I do like that. I think that's really cool. And your camos carry forward. Not everything, but most of it, which is kind of cool. I know the big thing this year for me is zombies. And zombies this year is an interesting mix kind of between DMZ, which was a PvP mode that had some people in it where you would go out and complete contracts, where this year's zombies, it's DMZ, but with zombies. What I mean by that is you go into a mode, you will see other players, but you can't kill them. So you can work together. You can squad up. I play with the game heroes usually every Tuesday for like an hour or two. And you complete contracts, and each zone on this map has higher tier enemies, zombies, and contracts. So the first zone is the low threat zone. Number 2, the zombies are a little tougher. You may run into disciples and manglers. And the third zone, you'll run into really, really tough zombies, but the rewards are there. But the thing is, this year, you can extract with different items, much like DMZ. So if I go in, I kill a boss, if I get a recipe for a perk like Deadshot Daiquiri or Speed Cola, I have to extract with that, bring that out into my new character thing, and then I can craft that to bring that into my next run. But if I extract with, say, a backpack that's a medium, or I get a 2-plate armor vest and I die, I lose those items, but I still carry the schematics. So so you basically want to escape with schematics and gear that'll help you, like gas masks and backpacks and all that sort of stuff. It's fun. It forces you to think about exfil because there's a time limit. So once about 45 minutes passes, the map fills with gas and you're dead. And it can be fairly fun. It can be fairly chaotic, but it's not as fun as Zombies Outbreak was, which is something me and another Twig member and Alex used to play for hours upon hours. We would lose literally an entire night playing it. DMZ Zombies, the stakes are still high, but I don't like the time limit. And that's kind of unfortunate.
Outbreak, I played more of Outbreak in 1 year with the Twig crew than I have of all of the single players of COD combined.
Yeah, and that was the strength of that zombies mode. And there is no traditional round-based zombies because they put it into this mission. And I'm fine with that. I like the more open world explore things because I just think it's more interesting than here survive for like, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes against zombies that'll progressively get tougher. We're here, if I want to hang around in the tier 1 zone and farm to get items for my next run, I can do that. But I have to do it in 45-minute spits and spurts. And Sledgehammer has nerfed several strategies where you could literally stay at the exfil point to get out of the level. Zombies would spawn in ridiculous numbers, and you could just sit there and farm all day to your heart's content. And now they've nerfed that where not as many zombies spawn, so that's eliminated some spawn strategies for people to level up guns and stuff. But there are tons of zombies YouTubers that are saying, hey, if you want to get rare schematics, here's how you do it. In fact, one of the weirdest things I've seen this year is how I talked about schematics. If you want a wonder weapon, you can literally spawn into a round of zombies with a ray gun, but it has a cooldown period of, I think, 2 days or something. So that's really cool, but that's kind of weird. I don't know whether I like that, to being able to spawn in with wonder weapons. Pack-a-punch stuff, sure. Perks, sure. But here's the ray gun right off the hop. Sure, you really got to work for it. Plus, there's no traditional Easter egg. Yes, there is an Easter egg where you have to kill so many mini bosses on a map. It opens up a room. You get some cool gear. But if you die, you don't get it. So, and if somebody else on the map opens the room, or sorry, if you open the room, somebody else can go to that Easter egg and steal it from you. So that really sucks. In fact, I've run into a couple pieces of the Easter egg already where I've done it halfway through, but I'm thinking, by the time I get there, someone's going to take it. I'm not bothering anymore. And that kind of sucks because you, me, and the other members of the Twig crew did the Easter egg for Outbreak, and we got fairly far into it before the game crashed. But It was really cool to see it. Here, they've said, this is not a traditional Easter egg. We might do something more. I wish the Zombies crew had continued with the Outbreak scenario and kind of figured a way to make it more open world, and especially something that you can play offline. Here, you are constantly connected. You have to play online. At least that's what I'm seeing. I'm 99% sure of this. If I'm wrong, I'm sure somebody will correct me. But I'm not a big fan of that because sometimes I just want to horse around with just me and my friends. If I want to do the Easter egg, sometimes I want it to be just for me and my buddies. I don't want Rando 232 from Atlanta and Louisiana to randomly steal the thing that I've been working hard for like 2 hours. Is it great to run into players on the map and they help you? Yeah, sometimes you get some of those cool like buddy up co-op moments. Not often. Most people just want to do their own thing, and I'm fine with that. But I don't know. Like, this year's Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the multiplayer I like because it is so similar to Modern Warfare 2. It doesn't do nearly enough to differentiate itself. I don't like the unlock system. I do like some of the new kill streaks. I do like some of the new guns. But there's only so much you can do with the gunsmith system. They've changed some of the names around, so I have to think, well, what does weapon stability do versus this, that, and the other thing? There's a YouTuber I watched called Exclusive Ace. I had to have him break down the gun stats so I understand how to build effective weapons. In fact, that's how I base a lot of my builds, is off of his stuff, because he does all the testing, because he understands the system. Modern Warfare 2019, I understood. Modern Warfare 2, I understood. Here, they've changed the names. They've changed the values. I don't necessarily get it the same. Warzone is Warzone. What do you want? It's sweaty tryhards killing each other and one life to live, and I'm not that good, so whatever.
To be honest, for like Warzone and people that play perpetually, if that's their game, that's their game.
Yeah, that's where they're good.
I play more games than just Call of Duty. You know what I mean? So for me, that has never interested me. So I don't even jump into it whenever there's something new with Warzone, because where do you jump in when like there's
everybody's
not like,
so much better?
There's not an arena for people that are casuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like how Fortnite had the no build mode, and that felt like it was more casual friendly. With Warzone, everybody feels like an esports pro, and it's so hard to compete. And if it's cross-platform, if you're going against somebody on PC with a mouse and keyboard, you're probably done, son. And it's no flack against you as a console player, because that's what I am. I play on an Xbox Series X. I use a Pro controller. When I do play on PS5, I do have a Pro controller there, but it's not as precise as a mouse. It is just not the same, and you cannot tell me different. It's not fun. Now, that being said, there are other modes like War where you have an escalating set of objectives. Cool. Great. There are playlists that change constantly. I think as of this recording, gun game's coming back. I love gun game. I wish that was a permanent mode. In fact, when Sledgehammer developed Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, I used to troll kids by punching them so they would go back to the previous gun. I got a lot of hateful messages because I did that. It was fun to troll people. And the disbanding lobbies. Now, supposedly they're talking about having a playlist where this doesn't happen. That's how you develop rivalries. That's how you get to know Noob Master 42 from Albany, New York, and you're like, hey man, you shouldn't be sniping there. Oh well, maybe you shouldn't stop camping. Maybe you should get good. A little bit of friendly trash talk can be great. Sometimes you meet friends on here. In fact, one story, this happened to me last year when I was playing Modern Warfare 2. There was a kid I met on a Discord server, and I was trying to unlock one of the guns that you have to get from the DMZ. When you unlock that gun and you extract with it, it'll become available to use in multiplayer. I couldn't get it because I wasn't that good to kill this guy known as the chemist. But this kid had it, and there was a strategy where if he had it and he dropped it, I could grab it and extract with it, and then I would automatically have it. So I didn't have to go through this escalating set of difficult encounters. And that kid was honestly fairly awesome. I had some very nice conversations with him. I hope that that kid is well. I lost touch with him on Discord after a couple of months. But those are the friendships that form. And you need lobbies for that stay together. Are we ever going to go back to the days of, the original kind of Black Ops and Call of Duty and Modern Warfare 2, which admittedly were a little rough in the 360 era? But, that's why we have these tools that'll report people for abusive and toxic behavior. But sometimes you meet some genuinely interestingly good people in lobbies. But if you're disbanding after every game, you're never going to develop those relationships. So I guess in conclusion, can I recommend Modern Warfare 3? I'm going to say wait for an extremely deep discount. Maybe wait for Christmas, maybe ask for it as a gift. The multiplayer can be fantastic fun because it is an astoundingly good time. If Warzone's your thing, that's free. You can download that. Who cares? If you want to play zombies, it's a different experience this year. Is it as good as Outbreak? No. Outbreak is still there, though, if you want to play it, and that game constantly goes on sale. This DMZ version of it, it's not bad. I hope they add more to it and it continues to expand upon each season and each subsequent release. We'll see what happens. I hope the multiplayer gets better. I hope they keep addressing bugs with like hot fixes and everything. I can't wait for the Call of Duty Pro season to start up since the Overwatch League is now done, which I'm very surprised to see that fold as fast as it did. CDL, I don't see that happening. I certainly hope not. I really like watching professional COD, and it'll be interesting to see what the gun meta turns into this year, because it always is.
Well,
so yeah.
Basically, like if you're a fan of the multiplayer, wait till you can get it for like half price. Because as much as you'll see things touting what they've added, it is a lot of remastered older things or revamped older maps. If you're purely a multiplayer player, you're probably getting enough either in last year's game or in Warzone. And if you want this, it's just, I don't think it can justify the $70, $80, $90 purchase for that right now with the content that's available. If you're a single player only player, you're going to want to wait till it's like 10, 15, $20.
Yeah, because ultimately it leaves you sad.
And I'm saying this, if you only play single player, you can't get more than $20 of value out of this right now.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with Alex there, because the ending is disappointing. It is not the conclusion to this trilogy that I wanted, because Modern Warfare 2019, it took a lot of risks with a familiar story. Modern Warfare 2 built upon that, and it was great. Modern Warfare 3 feels like they handed it off to a different director and said, okay, you got half the money and half the time, just make it work.
This felt like it should have been Modern Warfare 2.5 or Modern Warfare 2 Game of the Year Expanded Edition.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It feels more of the same with a slightly different coat of paint, and that makes me incredibly upset.
Maybe keep an eye out Black Friday, Boxing Day sales, whatever, for one of the new PlayStation Slim. Some of the retail locations are bundling the game in with the console at no additional cost. If that's the case, and you can't find a bundle with a full-blown game like Spider-Man somewhere else, then go for it. Because if you can get it bundled, great. Because then at least you're not spending extra cash, and you still get what is here for the most part is still a premium experience, except for some of those single-player missions and it being shorter.
Yeah.
But the actual presentation, visually and everything, is right up there.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, guys, big thanks to Activision for sending this along. Hopefully, I will see you folks out there on the battlefield.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy playing zombies. If you want to see me play that with the Game Heroes, I am streaming that with Handsome Tom, usually on Tuesdays at some point during the day, sometimes during the evening. So you can always catch me and Lego Toadito, which is known as Scott. And you can see Tom usually make fun of me for about an hour and a half. So anyway, that's going to do it for us here at ThisWeekInGeek.net. So from the battlefields of Verdansk and all across the world, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike the Birdman saying, I'll catch you guys next time right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Boys,
Captain Price, at your service.
I need half of your men with my lieutenant, the rest of you on me.
Copy that.
Right, stay close, follow my orders. Let's get on those doors, yeah? 6 to watch you, we're on the X going for Makarov.
Solid copy. Go get him, John.